I used to keep my bananas in the fridge. Until this happened the first, remember the morning it all started? I reached into the fridge to grab a banana for my oatmeal, like I always did. But instead of that sweet, creamy bite I was expecting, it was mushy, grayish, and tasted off. That was the day I realized maybe I've been storing my food the wrong way all along. Hi, I'm Margaret. I'm 68, and I've been cooking for my family for over 40 years. You'd think by now I'd have it all figured out, right? But it turns out some of the things I learned growing up, or just did out of habit, weren't exactly helping me keep my food fresh or healthy. Over the past year, as I started paying closer attention to my diet, thanks to a little wake-up call from my doctor about my blood sugar and blood pressure, I also started learning more about food storage. And let me tell you, I was shocked to discover that refrigerating certain foods can actually harm their flavor, texture, and even reduce their nutritional value. Some, like garlic in oil, can even become dangerous if stored the wrong way. Take potatoes, for example. I used to toss them in the fridge without thinking. But did you know that cold temperatures convert their starch into sugar faster? And that can lead to the formation of a harmful chemical called acrylamide when they're cooked? Or how about tomatoes? I thought keeping them cold would preserve them longer, but instead, they lost their flavor and turned mealy. And don't get me started on honey. I once pulled out a jar that had turned into a thick, grainy blob. Turns out that's why I'm here, sharing what I've learned, not just from research, but from real kitchen experience. Whether you're like me, trying to eat better in your golden years, or just want your food to taste the way it's supposed to, I'm here to walk you through which foods to keep out of the fridge and how to store them the right way. Because sometimes, staying healthy starts not with what we eat, but with how we store it. As I dove deeper into learning about proper food storage, I started to understand something that completely changed the way I looked at my kitchen. Not all foods belong in the refrigerator. It sounds simple, right? But once I truly understood the why, it all started to make sense. Many of us grew up thinking the fridge was the safest place to store anything we wanted to keep fresh. But the truth is, cold temperatures can actually damage certain foods, stripping away their nutrients, altering their natural flavor, and in some cases, even creating health risks. That's especially important for folks like us, who are watching our health a little more closely these days. Let me tell you, as someone living with borderline diabetes and trying to keep my blood pressure under control, I've learned that every little choice adds up. From what we eat to how we store what we eat, it all plays a role. When I kept my tomatoes in the fridge, they lost their rich flavor. They turned bland and watery, and I'd end up throwing them away. Same thing with onions and garlic. When stored in the fridge, they sprout faster or get moldy quicker because of the moisture, and that can mess with your digestion too. And bananas? When they go cold, their skin darkens and their starches break down in a way that makes them taste odd and overly sweet. Not a great combo if you're managing blood sugar. But here's the good news. By making just a few small changes, I not only preserved the taste and quality of my food, but I also felt more in control of my health. I started keeping potatoes in a paper bag in a dark cabinet, garlic and onions in a well-ventilated basket, and tomatoes right on the counter stem, side down. Not only did they last longer, but they tasted better, like how food should taste. As we get older, our bodies become more sensitive to the foods we eat, and that includes how fresh, safe, and nutritious they are. Improper storage doesn't just mean wasted food. It can lead to bloating, upset stomachs, spikes in blood pressure, or sugar levels we didn't expect. That's why taking just a little time to understand how to store your food properly is not only a smart move, it's an investment in your health your energy, and your peace of mind. So, from one seasoned home cook to another, how you store your food matters more than you think. And I'm here to help you get it right. Now that I had a better understanding of how food storage affects not just taste, but our overall well being, I started making some real changes around my kitchen. And let me tell you, it made a world of difference. So, if you're like me, trying to make smarter choices for your health without making life complicated, here's something you'll want to keep close. A simple list of 10 foods you should never put in the refrigerator. 1. Potatoes. Cold temps turn their starch into sugar, giving them a weird, gritty texture and affecting blood sugar levels. Store them in a paper bag in a cool, dark place, not the fridge. 2. Tomatoes. Chilling them dulls their flavor and makes them mealy. Keep them on the counter, stem side down, and let them ripen naturally. 3. Onions. Moisture in the fridge makes onions mushy and moldy. Store them in a dry, well-ventilated basket away from potatoes. 4. Garlic. Just like onions, garlic likes a dry, dark space. The fridge encourages it to sprout and lose its flavor. 5. Avocados. If they're still hard, the fridge stops them from ripening. Let them ripen on the counter, then refrigerate only once fully ripe, and even then, only for a day or two. 6. Bananas. The cold slows ripening, but also turns the skin brown and the texture unpleasant. Keep them at room temperature and away from sunlight. 7. Bread. Refrigerating bread dries it out faster. Instead, store it in a bread box or freeze what you won't eat within a few days. 8. Honey. Cold causes honey to crystallize. It keeps just fine in a cabinet. In fact, honey never spoils if stored properly. 9. Olive oil. Cold turns it cloudy and thick. Keep it in a dark glass bottle, away from heat and light. 10. Melons whole. Refrigeration before cutting can break down their antioxidants. Keep them at room temperature until you slice them. Each of these changes might seem small, but together they can make a big difference in taste, nutrition, and your health. And as we get older, we deserve meals that are as good for our bodies as they are for our taste buds. If you found this helpful, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss more tips from me, Margaret, right here on the channel. And tell me in the comments, which of these foods surprised you the most? Or do you have your own storage secrets to share? Let's keep learning and living well together. As I continued to make these small changes in my kitchen, something became clearer to me. As we grow older, our bodies go through changes that make proper food storage even more crucial. You see, our sense of taste, smell, and digestion aren't quite what they used to be. These changes may seem minor, but they can have a big impact on how we experience food, and more importantly, how our bodies process it. For example, many people notice that as they get older, food doesn't taste as vibrant or flavorful as it once did. That's because our taste buds change, and we may not be able to detect the same intensity of flavors. This means we need to be even more mindful of how we store our food. When we keep things fresh and properly preserved, it can help enhance the flavor of what we eat, even when our taste buds aren't as sharp. Then there's our digestive system. As we age, our stomachs and intestines can become a little less efficient at breaking down food, which means we need to make sure we're getting the most out of the nutrients in every bite. Improper storage can cause some foods to lose their nutritional value, and that's something we definitely want to avoid, especially as we get older and need all the nutrients we can get. When you store food the right way, you preserve more than just its taste. You're also keeping the vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants intact. For example, storing tomatoes at room temperature instead of in the fridge doesn't just protect their flavor, it also ensures you get more of the vitamin C that they contain. The same goes for potatoes, garlic, and olive oil. These foods, when stored correctly, give you the full benefit of their nutrients, helping your body stay healthy. The truth is, as we get older, it's even more important to optimize the nutrition we get from our food. Whether it's managing conditions like diabetes, high blood pressure, or digestive issues, the food we eat can play a major role in how well we feel and how we manage our health. If we can store our food in a way that helps us retain its nutrition and maximize its freshness, we're doing our bodies a huge favor. Remember, this isn't about being perfect. It's about being smarter and more mindful. The small adjustments I've made have really helped me, and I hope they'll help you too. Taking care of our food is just one way we can take care of ourselves. If you found this helpful, don't forget to subscribe so you can get more tips on making the best choices for your health and your home. And feel free to share your thoughts or ask questions in the comments. I'd love to hear how you're storing your food and what's worked for you. As I started paying more attention to how I stored my food, I realized that it didn't have to be complicated. In fact, small adjustments to how we store certain foods can make a big difference in both taste and nutritional value. Here are a few simple and easy tips that I've learned over time, and I'd love to share them with you. Potatoes. It's so tempting to toss potatoes in the fridge, especially when you've got a bunch left over. But the cold can cause them to become sweet and change their texture. The best way to store them is in a cool, dry place, away from sunlight. I've found that using a paper bag instead of a plastic one works wonders. The paper allows the potatoes to breathe and helps keep them fresh longer. If you're not using them right away, a cool basement or pantry works well. Tomatoes. This one was a game changer for me. I used to refrigerate my tomatoes, thinking it would keep them fresh longer. But refrigeration actually affects their texture and flavor. Tomatoes are best kept at room temperature, away from direct sunlight, until they ripen. Once they're ripe, I put them in the fridge, but it's best to consume them soon after. Garlic and onions. I learned that garlic and onions should never be stored in the fridge. The cold can cause them to sprout and lose their flavor. Instead, store them in a cool, dry place like a pantry or cupboard. I've even started using mesh bags for my garlic and onions, which helps keep them ventilated and prevents them from spoiling too quickly. Bananas. One of the most common mistakes I made was putting bananas in the fridge, but doing that can turn their skin dark and make them mushy. It's best to store them at room temperature on the counter, away from other fruits. If your bananas ripen too quickly, you can place them in a paper bag to help them ripen more evenly. Olive oil. Another one I had to learn the hard way. Storing olive oil in the fridge can cause it to solidify and lose its smooth texture. The best way to store it is in a dark, cool place, like a pantry. Just make sure it's tightly sealed to prevent air from getting in and causing it to go rancid. Honey. Honey is one of those foods that you definitely shouldn't refrigerate. In fact, honey stays best at room temperature and in its original container. If you notice honey crystallizing, simply place the jar in a bowl of warm water to restore its smooth consistency. These tips might seem small, but they really do make a difference in how food tastes and lasts. By storing things the right way, you can preserve their freshness and nutritional value, which is especially important as we get older. The best part? These tips are simple and easy to follow. You don't need any fancy gadgets or special containers, just a little knowledge and a few small changes in your routine. As I sit here, reflecting on all the little changes I've made over the past few months, I realized that proper food storage isn't just about keeping my kitchen organized, it's about taking care of myself and my health. The older we get, the more we need to think about what goes into our bodies and how we care for the things that nourish us. It's easy to overlook the small details like how we store our food, but those details add up and can really make a difference in how we feel and how we age. I want to share this message with you, my dear friends. It's never too late to make small changes that can improve your life. By simply adjusting how we store our food, we're giving ourselves a chance to eat better, feel better, and live better. It's not about making big, overwhelming changes. It's about taking one step at a time, one choice at a time. When we start by doing something as simple as storing our tomatoes in the right place or keeping our bananas at room temperature, we're building better habits that will follow us into every part of our lives. I know it can be easy to fall into old habits, but let's remind ourselves that we have the power to change, and even the smallest changes can have a big impact. It's not just about keeping food fresh, it's about fresh starts and the possibility of better health. And most importantly, it's about giving ourselves the time, care, and attention we deserve as we age. I encourage you to take a moment today to think about your food storage habits. Maybe you've been keeping your olive oil in the fridge for years, or perhaps your garlic has been hiding away in a plastic bag. It's okay. We've all been there. But now we know better, and it's the perfect time to make a positive shift. You've got this, and I'm here cheering you on every step of the way. Remember, even the smallest changes lead to bigger ones, and those changes lead to a better quality of life. So, let's make those small adjustments together and improve our lives one simple habit at a time. The small changes we make in our daily lives can lead to big improvements in our health and happiness. Proper food storage isn't just about keeping things fresh, it's about taking care of ourselves and the food that nourishes us. By paying attention to how we store our food, we can preserve not just the flavors, but also the vital nutrients that help our bodies stay strong, especially as we age. These little habits might seem small, but they have the power to make a significant impact on our overall well-being. Remember, it's never too late to make small adjustments that can improve your health, so let's take one step at a time. If you've enjoyed today's tips, don't forget to like and subscribe to Senior Moments Matt. Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. I'd love to hear your stories, and feel free to ask any questions you may have. Together, let's keep learning, growing, and taking care of ourselves, one step at a time.